Hey. Let's get caught up on what's going on with Trump and in Texas with the flood. Let's go. Come in hitting the like button, please. Hello. Good morning. Let's see what the update is this morning.
Responders have really been all hands on deck in this area. Back to you. Kate May, live from Center Point this morning. Thank you for that report.
Down there and up, it is pretty quiet this morning, which is nice to see. We need that. We don't need the extremely hot temperatures. We're not getting it. I mean, we're not going to have anything cool. It's very muggy outside. 80 degrees at this hour, thanks to some sun. I mean, most of us are seeing some sun out there. Yes, we have some thicker clouds, and we're starting to see at least a couple.
You very much, because I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And he said, I really love your shirt. I need to put my No Kings out because I feel weird putting out flags right now. I know. That's what I mean. Get the fact that, like, you see someone with a flag and you...
That are put on the books by members of duly elected members. The mayor, Karen Bass, interfering with official federal officer proceedings, trying to enforce the laws that are put on the books by members of duly elected members of Congress. Are you all hesitant to just go out and arrest her?
We're certainly keeping everything on the table.
Do it.
Do it tomorrow when
Double
she's on the
dog
Stephanie
dare
Miller
ya.
show. I dare
Double
you.
dog dare you. Do it.
Chris, could we be that lucky?
I hope so.
Live on the Stephanie
Live
Miller show.
on video.
Yes, yeah. I mean, did you see Tom Alman like threaten New York City? He's going to, send in raids if you elect Mamdani. It's just, if you don't get what fascism is by now, I mean, oh my God. By the way, what is America's early warning system?
Black ladies.
Black ladies, that's right. How fantastic was Joy Reid on the show yesterday?
Love her.
Oh my God. Okay. She tweeted, I'm right where I want to be. Love to my favorite morning show.
Oh.
I said, we love you back, goddess. Will said Joy Reid is an intellectual ninja and a total smoke show.
She is.
She is.
I agree.
I sent that to her. She said, I'm hiring that guy as my publicist.
She is hot.
should.
Yeah.
She is.
I told her, I said, I don't mean this in I mean this in a non-gay, non-creepy way. I've just always been blinded by her intellect, her smile. She is just magic. And oh, by the way, she dropped a bunch of,
Two.
potty mouths.
Yeah.
Joy Reid, unshackled by corporate overlords. It's on
That's a big
fire
thing.
lately.
Yeah.
Yeah. Chris, who said, who said to Elon Musk, bitch, you have a party. You already just paid $250 million for. The Republican Party's yours. Who said that?
Chris Matthews.
No. It's Joy Reid on the Stephanie Miller show yesterday. Thank you, Will.
Okay.
Yeah. Will says Joy brings it home, dragging apartheid Clyde so hard he hid behind Mae Musk's skirt. It's true. You already, you bought it, you broke it. Yeah. You don't third party. Okay. Where am I?
I don't know.
Hold on. Seth, the Homo of Hope, is here.
Oh,
Yay!
Yeah. Hello, Seth.
Hello, homos, and Jody on the Shomo, and
Yeah.
Bella with a Z, and a shout out to Bella's dad with incredibly bad judgment.
We're the babysitters?
I know. Where's the vodka in the water jar? And big regret this morning before I get to my point is during MacArthur Boy. Get on that. Yeah, but you were in the back.
I can confirm the view from the front was much better. They were really in full-on diva.
Sure, I am sure.
Yeah.
So I just want to make everybody rest assured that they will find and produce the Epstein list, and when they do, George Stephanopoulos and the DEI Pete Buttigieg,
Yeah.
they will all be on the list.
Yes. That was quite a shock that Pete Buttigieg into little girls. Okay. To our caller's point before the break, we played this yesterday, Harry Enton, the CNN data reporter, but he also threaded about it. He said, on this extremely or very proud to be American has fallen through the floor to a record low of 36%, down from 80% in 2015. This is down in 2015. This is driven by Gen Z of Dems, who just 24% are proud to be American. And here says everything that's going on in the country. Meanwhile, 92% of the GOP are proud to be American. You're for concentration camps?
Apparently.
You're for on horseback terrorizing children instead of saving them in Texas, a red state? You're for all this. I mean, okay. I don't even know what to say. Every promise he made, right? No more, Mr. No More Wars, right? As wars are escalating everywhere. I mean, it's just
Right.
But anyway, this
All of
lady's
that
call
was a lot.
heartbreaking. But
Good
Bella,
morning,
you always say
everybody
this,
coming
that
in.
you
Please
and
double
LTV
tap your
Greggs
screen,
don't wanna
hit the like
fix-
button
No, never.
as we
never.
listen.
Yeah, along the lines of what you just said about being proud to be an American. The only time I'm ever proud to be an American is during the Olympics,
Yeah.
genuinely. Like,
Yeah.
even as a little kid, I never understood, like, the concept of nationalism or, like, being, like really, like, ride or die for your country.
Right.
And I think just having a family of immigrants, that was part of it.
Yeah.
But just in general, like, I don't know anybody that is, like, really proud to be American.
Because think about it. They grew up in the era of Donald Trump.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? I mean, you came of age in this whole, what are we, like 10 years since the escalator, right?
And the people who are really performative about being patriotic are obviously performative.
Yeah,
and that's a big turn
And
on.
they're
people.
Trump supporters.
Right.
It's like, honestly, I think the mentality nowadays is that if you say that you are proud to be an American or you are, like, posting stuff on the 4th of July, like, hardcore along those lines, people are going to assume that you are a Trump supporter.
And that's too bad.
And it sucks.
And also, what gives me hope is then your generation's smarter than a lot of us. Because if you grew up, if you grew up in this, that's why. I mean, I wouldn't be proud to be a Donald Trump American either if I were. I mean, that's what you know of America. I mean, these people, like, with all the patriotic crap behind Trump, spewing just hateful rhetoric. I hate Democrats and, alligator Alcatraz and ha ha ha. Like, I'm going, wow, if that's you loving America, count me out.
Yeah, on July 4th, I
Hey,
wore my No
Cynthia.
Kings in America. It starts with We the People and then No Kings in America. And I was walking in my neighborhood and they were going to have a small parade and, like, just a mile and a half. And this one guy, I'm walking by his house and he had all these flags out and he was getting ready and he looked at my shirt. He goes, "I love your shirt." And I said, "I thank you very much," because I wasn't expecting that.
Yeah.
And he said, "I really love your shirt. I need to put my No Kings out because I feel weird putting out flags right now."
I know. That's what I mean. Get the fact that, like, you see someone with a flag and you think, oh, that's a Trump fake patriot.
No, we can take it back. We took it back on the No Kings Day. We can take it back.
Yeah. No, I quoted Heather Cox Richardson yesterday. She said, if the good guys, because someone said, is it over for America? And she said, if the good guys aren't winning, it's not over. If the good guys are winning, it's not over yet, And I keep citing Nazi Germany. They didn't win there. And hopefully they won't win here. But
it's kind of like, LGBT folks thought the fight was over when we got marriage equality. No,
Yeah.
it's not over.
Over?
It absolutely is not over.
It wasn't over.
You think it's over?
Yeah, we thought
Was
we
it
had
over
You
when
can
the
remodel your
bombs
kitchen
were
faster
Harvard?
and for a lot less than at the big box stores.
He's rolling.
At Cabinets to Go, customize your dream kitchen.
Yeah, okay. So this, by the way, because we can't play his voice, because you know what, how much, right? I could be arrested for torture someday if I were to play his.
I think it's better when you impersonate him.
No, you know what it is, Chris? It's better when you read the transcript, because you realize how complete pudding his brain. It's like I don't know, like an orange brain, like bread pudding or something in his head. It's,
Orange bread pudding?
yeah.
Is that a thing?
We haven't decided what his brain has been reduced to, but he makes no
Tapioca.
sense.
Slime.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
I like slime. Like the kind that you play with.
Yes. Uh-huh.
Ooh, the inside of Stretch Armstrong. That's
Yes.
So, because he doesn't have any other thing in his head except blame Biden somehow.
Tapioca.
Right, and then tapioca. Right. With
and French fries.
with the syphilitic brainworms.
Right.
It mixed in with the tapioca. So he was asked whether he's investigating whether some of the cuts to the federal government left key vacancies at the National Weather Service. Do you think? He said, they didn't. That water situation, and that was really the Biden setup.
What?
How? First of all, does anyone know what does that mean? What, Joe Biden invented water? I'm like, he doesn't know what to do except to bring up Biden. He literally, that doesn't even make sense.
No.
Grammar Nazi?
Oh, I'm not diagramming that.
That water situation, that all is, and that was really the Biden setup.
Wait,
Does that make any sense
No.
logically, grammatically?
No.
You cannot diagram that.
And then he said, that was not our setup,
What setup?
but I wouldn't blame Biden for it either. So then he realizes maybe how ridiculous he's saying this is the floods or Biden's. Okay, so then he said, GK said, I'm not sure what that word salad means, but somehow Trump managed to drag Biden into the flood disaster.
I think what he was trying to say is that, well,
Like the
under
levees?
Biden, there was no warning system either.
But Biden
He's
has
the one that cut all the National Weather Service and NOAA. It's like I say, even Texas media is reporting it's these cuts that obviously affected this. One of them was a local. Again, everything in Texas is red, state, local, whatever. So you can't blame anybody except a Republican. I think you're referring to the local thing. Like, yeah, this is where your party's priorities have come. It's like you could have put in a warning system, but
But he
you'd
chose
rather.
not to.
Yeah, you'd rather spend $40 billion on ICE terrorizing kids playing
and tax
soccer.
breaks in Texas
Right.
for wealthy folks.
Right, but no, that's what they didn't. The local government didn't.
The next county over had it.
Right.
Was there a blue county?
Right. Joe Walsh he's really trying to make me fall deeper in love with him. I don't know what's going on.
Daddy issue.
Well, he bitch slapped Chuck Todd, so right away
Oh, well, there you go.
he's my hero.
That'll do it.
But he just did one of those typical both sides do it tweets about Texas. And Joe Walsh said, hey, Chuck Todd, this is a really bad tweet. Our political discourse is indeed, quote, a virus, but that has nothing to do with what happened in Texas. Texas is a one-party state, and only Trump has played ugly politics with weather disasters and disaster. Both sides here. I mean, it's entirely... I hope the people in Texas wake up. It's entirely controlled by Republicans.
It's a one-party state
I mean-
because the districts are so gerrymandered.
Yeah.
But I mean, Ted Cruz insured the Republican spending bill / funding for weather forecasts, and only to then go on vacation to Greece while his state was hit by a deadly flooding, a disaster critics say was worse than this forecasting.
Of course.
And he has the nerve to. Then they either have two plays. Oh, you can't politicize. Oh, you're politicizing a tragedy. When they politicize every tragedy that hits every blue state. Right. Ask us here in California.
They immediately politicize the fires here.
Yes, of course.
Immediately.
But of course, everybody's just like, oh, it's not Trump's fault. Like even the local Republicans, they can't say his name.
Right.
They got to go, oh, well, it's the,
federal government.
Right. Well, they first blame the National Weather Service. You're like, they're not the one that did, tons of cuts to their own agency. That was Trump and Musk.
Right. Mm-hmm. And we knew well in advance that there were going to be catastrophic winds.
Yeah, that Florida weatherman said so.
Right. So
months ago. Same in Texas.
Yes.
They were saying it months ago in Texas.
And he said we're going to lose the ability to forecast these things. I mean,
And it happened, of course, in the middle of the night. So the death toll has topped 100 now. It includes at least 27 campers and staff from a single summer camp where 11 are still missing.
So sad.
Sadly, at this point, I don't think people missing are still with us. Chuck Schumer has requested an inquiry into the cuts at the National Weather Service because, you know, I'm so sick of, literally, Mike Johnson, we played the soundbite yesterday. Well, all we can really do is send thoughts and prayers. Really? Is that all you can really do? No, actually, what you could have done is not cut, you know, the National Weather Service.
Right. As someone on Twitter said, that's something that a preacher should say.
Right.
That's not something that someone in charge should say.
Right.
What's the point of government, right? Like,
Well, that's their point,
Yeah.
is what's the point?
right. What? All right. Karen in Chicago. Hello, boo.
Hi. Good morning. Well, I just want to say this, first of all. The 4th of July is our holiday. We got rid of a king.
Yep.
That flag is a symbol of us getting rid of that king. And so, of course, the Republican Party has been performative with their patriotism, with everything that they say that they care about. It's all performative. Our right to protest, our right to petition our government is the most American thing. They don't believe in it. You have to fall in line. They are fascists. That's the whole thing. So, Bella, we are the patriots. Don't forget that. And I am right now in this moment ashamed to say that I'm an American because of the executive branch that we have and the Republican Party and what they've been doing.
Yeah, you know,
people.
Bella mentioned the Olympics. I'm just looking at this. Thomas said America has lost $60 billion in tourism so far this year. It's not just Canadians
It's
that work in
sad.
the USA, it's the world.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know, Karen, if we're going to have Olympics here.
I know, especially in LA.
Well, right.
And
Exactly.
normally,
Well, and
that's
can I
something
just-
we'd be super proud of.
I know.
Yeah, right?
Can I just say to Rose in Chicago, I feel your pain. You know, both of my children are in the process of applying for their Irish citizenship. I want ultimately for them to be safe, and particularly Liam. I want him to be safe, and I want his brother to go with him so that he's not alone.
Right.
But that is the thing that I want the most, is for my kids to be safe. And so I am angry. I am extremely angry, not only at the Republican Party and everybody that got us to this point, but people in my life.
Karen, I have best friends that are talking about moving.
Oh, I have friends that moved to Portugal.
And I'm like, if I lose all my friends because of this mother, right? So, I mean, it's like Rose, obviously, her family. But, you know, I mean, my best friends are my family. And, you know, and it's weird. At retirement age, since I'm only 42.
Mm-hmm.
No, I'm 43. I'll be 44.
Made you even younger.
Yeah. Anyway.
Getting there.
No, but getting there retired. But I mean, it makes me sad, Karen, that they're talking about moving out of the U.S. because of, you know. Anyway, I'm not going to. I've got nowhere to go.
And I'm not. Well, see, and this is the thing, though. I mean, for me, Steph, I have nowhere else to go either. And so, you know, and honestly, I kind of feel like, no, I'm going to stay here. Like, you know, you stayed on Twitter to fight Nazis, right? Because here's the thing. I also would feel guilty leaving, because that's a lot of privilege if you can.
No, I'm too stubborn. This is my country too, and I'm not leaving. I'm going to stay and get back the America that we all know and love, right? I am.
I told my kids, I'm like,
it's Richard Gere.
I told my kids, I go, I told my kids, I go, I want you guys safe, but I will stay here and I will join you when I can. Right. But I mean, I just, you know, and Rose, just remember this: we are in the age of technology. You can Zoom.
Yes.
You know, that's all. You know, that's the only consolation.
All right, honey. And she's KI Resist. Go, Rose. Contact Karen. She's head of the Stuff Heads there. You'll get solidarity and family. 50 minutes after the hour, this portion of the show. Hi, Rude. You know, I saw someone on Twitter say, kind of out of ha-ha juice about all this. Can I just say, you still have your outrage and your ha-ha juice in your latest
thank
piece.
you.
Yes.
Can I just ask you something real quick?
Yeah.
Real quick? Did Marjorie Taylor Greene really say God is not responsible for the flood?
Right.
That seems like a real misreading of the Bible.
Yes.
God
to start.
is well known for floods.
Yes. Yeah. It was just kind of his bag.
Yeah, it was.
Yeah, anyway, we'll get to your ha-ha juice and hold please the spiked dildo of justice. Anyway, never going to live. You can do whatever you want. You're not going to snatch his rudeness or his joy. During this horrible.
No. You know what? When I'm in the concentration camp, you know, I'll be like the Jerry Lewis clown.
You know what? You retweeted about the alligator Alcatraz signs go up outside migrant detention center in the Everglades. And you just said evil isn't setting up this hellhole. It's also little things like being part of the crew putting these signs up. I mean, someone was saying, like, who is this one? Concentration camps didn't have merch because even the Nazis knew that was kind of up. Can that be our slogan? Republicans, worse than Nazis. I mean, the fact that they are laughing and joking about it and think it's funny is a whole other level of just
yeah. The fact that it was probably migrants who put up those signs.
Yeah.
And also that people are stopping and taking pictures, smiling next to the signs.
Yeah.
Which is just beautiful.
Wow.
Way to go, humanity, American humanity.
Yeah. You said because I'm not a hole, I hope the people there don't get over by the federal government and that they get all the help that they need. I mean, that is the difference. I'm sorry, the parties. We want a National Weather Service that works for everybody, that's not gutted. We want everyone to get warnings, not like, oh, haha, this happened to a red state, like they do when it happens to blue states, right?
Yeah, well, and a large number of people in Texas did vote for Kamala Harris, and the floods aren't distinguishing between who the families voted for. The Hill Country's also. We're talking about the campers and things like that. It's also a very big vacation destination for a lot of people from Austin and other places. So, while you're saying, good, I'm glad that this happened to a red state. You're just shooting yourself in the foot. I used to go when I was a kid in Louisiana. We would go to the Hill Country for vacations. Yeah, it's a beautiful area with great barbecue. I'll tell you that.
Yeah. You also tweeted about, you said deleted post about the National Weather Service in Texas because it looks like the agency did issue warnings. Local officials are trying to shift blame for their inaction. I mean, this is just Trump and this entire party. Is you just know they're going to point fingers. They never, ever take responsibility as a party. They always look to shift blame, not solve problems.
I mean, that was me pulling the trigger, I thought, a little early on what I was originally saying. Now I feel pretty confident saying that it was that cuts at the National Weather Service definitely affected things. What also affected things were idiots in Texas, in Texas not voting for early warning systems on the river in Flash Flood Alley. And saying that they can't afford it, and or saying it was unnecessary, that having river monitors and sirens that would go off in case people don't check their phones.
Right, that's waste, fraud, and abuse, right?
Exactly.
And your Medicaid payments, and SNAP.
Right. Those are DEI sirens, I guess.
Yeah, but we need $40 billion for ICE. I mean, it's. That
150 billion.
I couldn't even keep track of where it went to.
It's bigger than the military spending of Russia, I believe.
Yes. A bunch of these. Ryan says, considering ICE's new budget is only 14% less than the entire domestic policing budget of Red China, people have no idea how fascist the U.S. is about to become. ICE is the USA's SS.
I mean, the only thing that we can count on, though, is so much of it is gonna actually be waste, fraud, and abuse, because the amount of cronyism and giving contracts to friends that's gonna go on with this. They're gonna waste a ton of that money. This is like sending pallets of cash to Iraq.
Let's talk salary. What do you typically offer?
The kind of out of ha-ha juice about all this. Can I just say, you still have your outrage and your in regards to patriotism, I found it. I am not going to quit. I'm not leaving America.
I ain't gonna quit. I got nowhere else to go.
Okay.
I've never seen that movie either.
You've never seen.
So am I really more of a patriot or a loser?
Yes.
Wait, what? How dare you not see an officer, gentleman?
That's a romantic comedy, or romantic whatever. not a comedy.
There's
Someone
some
died.
stuff in it. Oh yeah.
Yeah, someone dies.
Oh yeah. It's just very sad.
Yes.
Does the officer or the gentleman
Yes, it's
die?
the most romantic of all comedies that include suicide. What's wrong with you?
I've
Go
never
watch that
seen it.
movie. It's an Oscar-winning movie.
Well, and watch Pitch Perfect.
No,
I
Christian
haven't
told me
seen
not
that.
to.
I haven't seen Pitch Perfect.
Bella and I are ganging up on you until you watch Pitch Perfect. All right, Charlie Pierce coming up.
Right now, let me please welcome an up-and-coming comedian I just think has got a lot going for him, man. This is one of the funniest guys I know. If you've been a fan of SiriusXM for any meaningful chunk of time, you know this man and admire him as much as I do. Pete Dominic is a terrific broadcaster and a great comic and a great news commentator. And he was going to be on CNN tonight, and then Mayor Adams decided to do some quid pro quo and become a Republican. So CNN's loss is our gain. For almost 12 years, Pete was the host of a terrific show here on SiriusXM, and now he does his own.
They're on search and rescue. Hold on.
People. I'm going to head over to some of the coverage from our partners at Fox 7 in Austin as they give us a ground perspective there as to what's going on. On the other side, my colleague Christy Matino will pick up the coverage.
Town was one of the spots very hard hit by the weekend flooding, of course. Fox's Nate Griffin is out there this morning with the latest. Nate, good morning.
Hey, David, Katie, I can tell you right now, we're at City West Church, and Ingram is a beautiful city. You can tell that already. But bottom line is, when you look over, there are lots of people here already starting to mobilize, lots of different crews here. I guess about an hour and a half or so. There was very few cars in the parking lot. Now the parking lot is starting to fill up as mobilization is going to take place here. Ongoing search for victims and survivors continues, and several crews are in the area to help that effort. And as we speak, there's a briefing meeting planning mobilization, which is why you're starting to see these cars coming to the parking lot. One such organization here to help with the search and rescue effort is from the Houston area, EquiSearch, led by founder and CEO Tim Miller. Unfortunately, they've had plenty of work to do since arriving. The number deceased and recovered in Kirk County alone, 84. 56 adults and 28 children. 10 Camp Mystic campers and one counselor have yet to be found. Tim Miller says the task at hand is huge.
We've got equipment going to other areas. There's just huge debris piles all over the place. So we got the equipment going through the debris piles. We got cadaver dogs, and then we got all our foot searchers and everything that's kind of sifting through the debris when the equipment's taken out. So we've got quite a bit done so far, but we got a lot more to do.
Yeah, no question about that. Also, Texas DPS Special Operations, they are here as well, helping with the mobilization effort, and all the local authorities as well as other authorities from other parts of the country. They're here from everywhere. We talked with a lot of different people from a lot of different places yesterday, and still cars coming into the parking lot right now. This parking lot's going to get full in just a matter of minutes, seemingly, because once again, there was nobody here. All of a sudden, the parking lot starts to fill, but that's what happens when you get volunteers from all over the country. They begin to mobilize and come in to help the effort. So we'll continue to follow this, guys. And once again, we're live from the City West Church. Nate Griffin, back to you.
Good day, Austin weather with meteorologist Leslie London.
Good morning. Some good news for us is that it's nice and dry out there. We're not seeing any rainfall. Compare that to 24 hours ago where we were talking showers and storms and even flash flood warnings. It's feeling a lot nicer. Scope of this.
So the scope of this is very significant. What you're seeing is you're actually seeing the mobilization of response agencies from across the country. This is really kind of the best of the best getting together to kind of deal with, a catastrophic incident. that's affecting the community there. You're seeing the kind of the relationship between first responders. You're seeing the kind of the relationship between first responders, the private sector, and them coming together to kind of work on this rescue effort, this large-scale rescue effort that was just shown on your channel.
I think a lot of people are talking about the terrain. I'm giving you a live look right now at our Fox affiliates giving us these images of what this looks like today. What are the biggest challenges here when it comes to the terrain? I mentioned some of what these first responders, rescuers are having to deal with as this search continues. But what are the biggest challenges here? And another question is, how does the response plan change to accommodate those challenges?
So what you saw a little while ago was really kind of the morning briefing that sets the tone for the day. Every day they'll go through that morning briefing because every day is going to be a new set of challenges. The challenges that you saw, like in the picture, obviously, is you have a tremendous amount of debris that are in the waterways. So as first responders navigate those waterways, they need to be very aware of where they're at. If they're doing rescues in the water, the water actually covers or hides a lot of potential risks. Could be down power lines, could be hazardous material. So they need to be familiar or be aware of where they're at, what's happening. And ultimately, again, that's what you're seeing. Today they're planning for events for tomorrow, and they're looking at, where they're going to be operating, and then ultimately, what risks are associated with those operations for tomorrow. And again, they'll have that meeting tomorrow morning to kind of talk through, what are the risks of the day. So it's a very orchestrated, a very tactical process that they're following. And ultimately, at the end of the day, is really the safety of the responders, but making sure that also they're accomplishing their job of searching for those victims.
I wanted to share this timeline here that we have created, the timeline of the National Weather Service flood threats. And I just want to read through it quickly here. So this initial flood watch, which generally urges residents to be weather aware, that was issued by the National Weather Service office at 1:18 p.m. on Thursday. It predicted between 5 to 7 inches of rain. But the weather messaging from the office became a bit more urgent early Friday morning, urging people to move to higher ground and evacuate these flood-prone areas. Now, at 4:03 a.m., the office issued an urgent warning that raised the potential of catastrophic damage and a severe threat to human life. Officials now are under some scrutiny, but they're also saying, nobody saw this coming. So my question for you is really, was there anything that could have been done to prevent this? How quickly does flash flooding really come on here?
So in this particular case, flash flooding is flash flooding, and it's called flash flooding for a reason. In this case, you saw, the water levels rise many feet in just a couple of minutes. So, understanding where you're at, understanding the risks associated with where we're at, kind of that situational awareness is going to be critical. When you're, in those areas, and what's important is to really understand the emergency management process in the area, the notification process. Unfortunately, this happened, really in the early morning hours, and we're talking that these events, occurred from beginning to end in less than an hour. So, being that everybody was probably, in bed sleeping, the likelihood of them being notified was probably really low. This is kind of the worst case scenario of as far as incidents occurred, because again, it happened the time that it happened, and then certainly the flash flooding component where it happened over a matter of minutes as opposed to hours and days in some disasters.
Now, of note here, the county had considered a flood warning system along the river that would have functioned similar to a tornado warning siren about 6 or 7 years ago, but that idea never really got off the ground because of the expense. But if we're talking about looking forward to the future here, making sure that these instances are prevented and never happen again, what needs to happen here? What needs to be put in place?
So, every community that has, we're talking about flash flooding. So in this particular area, they need to really look at the hazards associated. Obviously, this is known as Flash Flood Alley for a reason. So certainly, looking at some sort of notification system certainly would be prudent. But, again, the community, the emergency managers, the first responders in the area, their job is really kind of going to be to look at this kind of retrospectively and look at ways to mitigate any risk, and that could be implementing or installing an early warning system for flash flooding in the area. But again, understand that in the middle of the night, even those systems it's gonna be a challenge because of the timing. The 45 minutes from beginning to end in the middle of the night is going to be difficult.
One of my last questions for you here, Joel, this is a post from Texas Governor Greg Abbott. He says, Texas is working tirelessly to assist local officials with recovery and rescue operations. Heavy rain continuing to be a threat. We actually saw that with our Fox affiliates as they were just in that weather segment. Texas should be weather aware. Texas will not stop until every missing person is found. So where does this go from here? Officials saying they're not giving up. Could this take weeks, months at this point? And how is the chance of rain, even further rain coming, going to affect that?
Well, like what was mentioned in the segment before, any rain at this point is going to be really, really difficult to manage. Understand that the soil, especially in that particular area, does not the ground is saturated. The soil does not absorb a whole lot of water simply because of its makeup. Where it goes from here, Governor Abbott, and the team there in Texas will continue their efforts to, rescue folks. But unfortunately, the reality is that at some point we're going to transition from rescue to recovery, and hopefully everybody's found. But hopefully, as we move forward, we're going to have to look at the damages that were caused by the water, and then ultimately, move into that recovery period and determine, how that community is going to be rebuilt and what becomes the new norm.
Yeah, and we'll continue to follow all of it. We do know the next press conference is going to be at 11 a.m. Eastern time here, and we do know President Trump will also be heading down there on Friday. Thank you so much for joining us here, Joel. We appreciate it.
Thank you, ma'am.
And I did want to share with you before we go away for a break here, we are going to be getting a press conference soon.
Implementing or installing an early warning system for flash flooding in the area. But again, understand that in the middle of the
and Attorney General Pam Bondi, as they are going to be holding this press conference discussing the rollout of the USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan. They're also going to discuss actions being taken to protect American agriculture from foreign threats. That's all set to start here shortly. Don't go anywhere.
For this historic rollout to address one of the most significant national security threats facing our nation. But first, I want to say that we gather together at a moment when the power of nature is rendered especially vivid to us. The floods in my native Texas, which have carried away so many lives, many of whom my family knew, has caused so much heartbreak and brought so many tears. It touches every one of us, not just those of us from the Lone Star State, but every American who cares about their neighbor, and especially every parent whose heart reposes not within themselves, but within their own children. It is not within our power to ease their pain, nor should those most devastating losses be erased or eased. But what we can do is grieve alongside them, and I know that's what we're all doing. And we can also join them in a sorrow that honors the joy of their children's and their family members' lives. It is not and has never been God's purpose that we suffer, but it is within his design that we rely upon his creation. We see that in extraordinary natural tragedy as over the last few days, but we also see it in the beneficial fruits of his creation, the bounty of the land, the yield of our farms, the produce and the product of our labor. That dependency upon his goodness is part of his purpose. And so as stewards of creation, we have an obligation to protect it. In protecting it, we protect ourselves, and that's why we're here today. Nowhere is this illuminated more vividly than in the stewardship and conservation of our American farmlands. We're here to talk about that today, and we're here to address one particular facet of that stewardship, responding to one particular type of threat. The plain reality is that American agriculture in American hands is a positive good, a rich blessing that we carefully tend and upon which rests the sustenance and future of our republic. Every family, every home, every community depends upon what our farmers do, and they support and sustain us, not merely by keeping us materially fed, but by keeping us spiritually strong. The farm's produce is not just a commodity, it is a way of life that underpins America itself. And that's exactly why it is under threat from criminals, from political adversaries, and from hostile regimes that understand our way of life as a profound and existential threat to themselves. For them, agricultural lands and our farms, because they are a previous inheritance, are weapons to be turned against us. We see it again and again, from Chinese communist acquisition of American farmland to criminal exploitation of our system of agriculture to the theft of operational information required to work the land and beyond. All of this takes what is profoundly good and turns it towards evil purposes. But November 2024 signaled it's time for our federal government to wake up and step up, and that's exactly what we are doing under the leadership of President Donald Trump. With this announcement today, we are taking this purpose and our American farmland back. American agriculture is not just about feeding our families, but about protecting our nation and standing up to foreign adversaries who are buying our farmland, stealing our research, and creating dangerous vulnerabilities in the very systems that sustain us. Reshoring and nearshoring our food and agriculture supply chain is essential for our nation's security. In coordination with the White House, the Departments of Treasury, Defense, Homeland Security, and Justice, as well as state governors, state agriculture commissioners, local, tribal, and territorial governments, today we announced the USDA's National Farm Security Action Plan. This plan includes 7 key action items, and there's a lot of people here that I want you to hear from, so I'm not going to go one by one, but just very quickly. It's on our website. The press has gotten a preview of it, and we can ask some questions once we finish the main program. But very quickly, and perhaps the most important, the first of the 7, is securing and protecting American farmland ownership. Actively engaging at every level of government to take swift legislative and executive action to ban the purchase of American farmland by Chinese nationals and other foreign adversaries. Standing on the shoulders of great governors, 3 of whom are standing behind me, who have already been leading the way on this issue. And at the federal government level, working to do everything within our ability, including presidential authorities, to claw back what has already been purchased by China and other foreign adversaries. Additionally, working with the Treasury of the Secretary of the Treasury, along with our Defense Department, on memorandums to ensure that moving forward, there is a much more intentional look at who is buying what in this country and from where they are in the world. Also enhancing our agricultural supply chain resilience, also protecting our U.S. nutrition safety net from fraud and foreign exploitation. Number 4, defending agricultural research and innovation. No more sweetheart deals and secret pacts with countries that do not have our best interests in mind. Number 5, making sure that America First is in every USDA program, from farm loans to food safety. We have already canceled 7 active agreements with entities in foreign countries of concern and will continue to cancel additional agreements moving forward. I signed a memo today, thank you, which immediately removes 70 citizens from countries of concerns that currently are affiliated with the USDA through contracts or research arrangements. And we are working to issue regulatory action to remove over 550 entities from foreign countries of concern from our preferred catalog. Number 6, safeguarding plant and animal health, working to make sure that we know what is coming in and how to control animal diseases. And number 7, protecting critical infrastructure from our farms and our food and our supply chains, again, along with so many partners across this government here in Washington and across our states. Now, please help me welcome to the podium the amazing Secretary Pete Hegseth. Thank you all.
Well, Brooke, thank you so much for your incredible leadership on this issue. It's an honor to be here. It's a very important one. I think we're all here for two basic reasons. One, under President Trump's leadership, we're going to put America first. We have America, American land, American basing, American troops, American citizens. You have a Secretary of Homeland Security who cares about Homeland Security. You have an attorney, imagine that. You have an Attorney General that cares about justice. You have a Secretary of the Agriculture that cares about our farmland and our farmers. You have governors who've led the way and senators and congressmen who now have reinforcements from an America First movement that it's about America First, but it's also just the application of common sense. As someone who's charged with leading the Defense Department, I want to know who owns the land around our bases and strategic bases, and getting an understanding of why foreign entities, foreign companies, foreign individuals might be buying up land around those bases. That's something I should be paying attention to on behalf of the American people, on behalf of my department, and on behalf of the president. It's common sense. And so food security, just like energy resilience, just like where we get our water, that's all national security, especially in a contingency. So we would be asleep at the wheel if we were not fully a party to an effort like this to ensure that our nation had the food supply it needs, but specifically our troops have what they need on our bases, so that in those moments you can rely on us here in the United States to provide that security. So no longer can foreign adversaries assume we're not watching and we're not paying attention and we're not doing something about it, because we are. So Brooke, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Please help me welcome to the podium to speak of the agri-terrorism threats, our incredible Attorney General, Pam Bondi.
Thank you all. And we know Texas is your home state, Secretary Rollins. Our hearts go out to all those in Texas and the families, as well as in North Carolina, who are also experiencing those horrible floods. We're so happy to be here today to protect our farmers, our ranchers, and our ag community. Under President Trump, we are proudly putting our farmers first again. Thank you to our Congress, our governors, all of the great people who have gathered here today. My job is to make America safe again, which includes protecting our farmers who feed our families. The Department of Justice will use every tool at our disposal to secure, defend, and protect our ag community from threats. Our Environmental and Natural Resources Division has successfully defended the Forest Service as it manages our forest. We're also defending mining critical and strategic minerals, which is very important to our nation's security. We're cracking down on pesticide trafficking. And we are doing this by closing the southern border, working hand in hand with our great Kristi Noem, where illegal and highly toxic chemicals from Mexico were smuggled into the U.S., and the Department of Justice is prioritizing the arrest of those illegal aliens doing it. Additionally, our National Security Division is actively monitoring foreign threats to American agriculture. Last month in Michigan, this is very frightening, we charged 2 Chinese nationals for attempting to smuggle potential agro-terrorism weapons into the United States. Both of them have ties to the CCP. Just days later, we arrested another Chinese citizen for sending packages of concealed biological materials into the United States. It's going to stop. FBI has opened over 100 bio-smuggling investigations in recent years. We will prosecute you. We will hold you accountable. Thank you to everyone who is here today, especially Secretary Rollins, Secretary Hegseth, all of our good friends, governors, my good friends, Governor Huckabee, and we will, all of us, will never back down from supporting our American farmers. God bless you, and God bless America.
Next, the incredible Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem, everyone.
Well, good morning, and I am so blessed and pleased to be here with Brooke, who is a dear friend of mine, and our hearts and prayers still continue to go out with Texas, and I'll be back down there in a few days to spend more time with them and to help them continue to heal and with recovery efforts. The one thing I wanted to share with all of you today is that long before I had the honor of serving as President Trump's Homeland Security Secretary, I was a farmer. I was a rancher. In fact, I've worked on food policy for over 30 years. And I recognize that food policy is national security policy. A country who cannot feed itself, cannot take care of itself, and cannot provide for itself is not secure. And that we have to be able to feed ourselves to make sure that no other country ever controls us. And I've watched for decades as evil foreign governments, including China, have come into this country and they've stolen our intellectual property. They've manipulated their currency. They've treated us unfairly in trade deals. They've come in and purchased up our processing companies, stolen our genetics. In fact, I've worked in this building off and on commissions and projects and laws and different statutes to ensure that China did not completely take control of our entire food supply chain, recognizing that the United States of America would be in jeopardy if that ever were to happen. I've watched them come in and establish a presence in stealing our chemicals, in providing our fertilizer for us. And so 2 years ago, when I served as governor of South Dakota, we passed a law in our state that said China and 6 other foreign evil governments would never own our farmland. And I'm very proud to say that in South Dakota, China does not own any of our land, nor will they ever own any of our land. While I served in Congress, I worked hard to put in programs that would help manage risk for farmers. I tell people all the time, farmers are the biggest gamblers that I know. They go to a bank oftentimes and they have to borrow money to buy land. Then they go back to the bank and they need machinery to work that land, and so they borrow some more money to do that. Then they have to go back and get an operating note to purchase seed and fertilizer or chemical potentially. And they put it in the dirt and they hope that months later it'll rain, the sun will shine, and that there'll be something there that they can pick up, that they can sell, and then that the markets that are beyond their control, that there will be a price there that will help them cash flow so they can go back and do it all over again the next year. They do that so that they can feed this country, so that they can feed this world. In fact, growing up as a little girl and as a daughter of a farmer and a rancher, I always felt like God loved farmers more. I mean, if you look at the Bible, look at Scripture, and you look over and over again, he talks about sowing and reaping and cattle on 1,000 hills and your barns to overflowing. And so I feel like there's a special blessing on farmers. And the fact that we have a president and that we have a Secretary of Agriculture that recognizes the importance of food policy and what it means to this country's security is so wonderful. It's such a change from what the previous administration and how they prioritized our farmers and ranchers. So now as the Secretary of Homeland Security, I have responsibilities when it comes to securing our homeland. But many of those responsibilities have to do with securing our critical infrastructure. We have the responsibility for 10 of our 16 critical infrastructures, which means our electrical grid, our water supply chain, how we protect and run this country, and what we do to make sure the people here are safe, but not just the people, the products and goods that come in and out of this country. Our Customs and Border Protection units are the ones that all of our goods come into this country and leave this country on, and their investigations and how they inspect our ag products are critically important to make sure that we aren't facing any kind of threats from what kind of products may come into this country or what kind of terrorist acts might happen from goods that other countries may wish to send to us that would harm our food supply. We will continue to make sure that we have the systems in place, the people in place, the experts in place, and the policies in place to make sure that this country always feeds itself, and that we always have the ability to grow our own food, and that we rely on no one else to feed the people of the United States of America, because it is a national security issue when a country cannot provide for itself. And we will never let any other country control our food supply or control our people, because we will always be the great United States of America. Thank you.
Yeah, I was reminded when Christy was Governor Nome and we were at America First Policy, Christy, you and I did an event together on this very issue 3 years ago, and she, along with some of the other governors, really stepped up. So thank you, Secretary Nome. Next, a longtime friend, a partner from the first Trump administration, and someone who has been leading on this for years and years. Please help me welcome White House Counselor Peter Navarro.
What a beautiful day to be out here in
It's difficult, I think, for a lot of Americans to wrap their head around what we're talking about today. We're such a good and kind nation that has done so much for the rest of the world over so many decades, including fighting 2 world wars on behalf of the rest of the world. But this is so serious an issue. The Art of War, a book, Sun Tzu, centuries old, says that the acme of warfare is to win without firing a shot. You fast forward to a book that was written by 2 high-ranking military officials in China called Unrestricted Warfare. And you understand that we are indeed in a new world where kinetic warfare is not the first choice of our rivals anymore. Rather, it is things like sending us seeds or trying to steal our seeds or trying to change the seeds. It is acquiring our supply chain in agriculture. It's setting up spy shops on land next to military bases. Do you remember when that balloon, it was just a weather station? We seem so naive about so much of this, when in fact we have nations and bad actors trying to do bad things using our supply chains now as weapons. The world changed yet again on April 2nd when the Chinese embargoed critical minerals, not just on us, but for the rest of the world. The Russians now embargo things like neon and helium and uranium as a tool. So we must be clear-eyed about the threats. And I just have to congratulate Secretary Rollins for taking leadership on an issue which has been troublesome for years. And we have governors here, like Kristi Noem in South Dakota, just leadership on that. She was doing that before anybody was paying attention. We're going to hear from Governor Huckabee. Arkansas has led the way on this issue at the state level, even as the federal government has been silent about it up to this point. The last thing is big things like Smithfield Foods. I don't know if you know this, but this one really troubled me when it happened. But the Chinese bought Smithfield Foods and basically control about 1/8 of the world's pork supply now. And we worry, we've had food inflation. We worry when things happen that can be part of that. And then the other key purchase which we allowed them to do is Syngenta. Well, what is that? It's a seed company. And in a world of ever-changing pests and things like that, and climate differences about where water is and things like that, seeds really can be the revolution that keeps the world fed. And China now owns a key part of that. So what Secretary Rollins is doing today, it's a historic day. She's putting down the marker that the United States is no longer going to tolerate the attacks on our agricultural system, not just the land, but the supply chain as well. She deserves more than a hand. She deserves a helping hand here. And that's why the other aspects of our government are behind us as well. So I appreciate being here on this absolutely gorgeous day. And again, I commend the leadership of the people behind me. Thank you.
Thank you, Peter. Again, no one more of a warrior than he on these issues and many others. So thank you. Next, also from the first Trump administration, now the governor of the great state of Arkansas, who another leader in this area. Please help me welcome Governor Sarah Huckabee Sanders.
Good morning.
It is incredible to be here and be joined with people who really understand what it means, not just to love our country, but to be willing to do things that actually preserve, protect, and allow us to pass on what makes our country so great to the next generation. And that's exactly what you see in the collaboration of the people that are gathered behind me. I'm so proud of the fact that Arkansas was the first state in the country to kick a Chinese-owned company off of our farmland and out of our state, and we made them pay for it. Very Trump-esque. And in the last couple of months, we've passed new legislation just this year allowing us to prohibit them from now not only owning farmland in our state, but from building or buying land around our military bases and critical infrastructure. It is something that has to happen and something that states have been leading the way on. But unfortunately, our states can't do it alone. That's why events like today matter so much. That's why leadership from people like Secretary Rollins matter so much. The fact that we now have a president who understands who our real enemies are and is willing to take them on is making a huge difference, not just in our country, but around the world. You know, we've talked a lot about today a country's ability to feed itself, but that's not the only place, and that's not the only role agriculture plays. A country has to be able to feed itself, fuel itself, and fight for itself to truly be free. And that's why what this group represents is every component of that. And we now have a president who understands it and is willing to do everything within his power to make sure the United States continues to be the greatest country on the face of the planet. And that doesn't happen by accident. That happens because we have great leadership. And I'm proud of the role that Arkansas has been able to play, but I'm more excited about the leadership that we now have in Washington that is going to take this to all 50 states and frankly all across the world. Having this group, there are no people I have greater confidence in. Secretary Hegseth leading the greatest military on the face of the planet, and nobody better suited to do so.
Can I get y'all to double tap your screen and hit the like button?
Member of the cabinet in an arm wrestling competition. But he's not the only tough.
What keeps me up, and that's why I'm a big proponent of the work. Being done at NBAT, the National Agro Research Defense Facility in Manhattan, Kansas, as well. I think that's the biggest active threat that I see is bioterrorism.
I think Senator Marshall really put a nice overview on the different threats. It really, you know, American agriculture, I think, is defined as science, technology, and innovation. And all those are amazing. It defines agriculture today, but it also leads the way for agriculture over the horizon for the future. But it can be very vulnerable if we don't protect that. And in the past, they haven't provided protections for that. The science, the technology, the innovation that comes out of this great country, out of this essential industry. And I think the fact that today we're declaring that food security is national security, farm security is a part of that. I think this is a great milestone of making sure that we're protecting all of that for the future. America needs we always want America to be in the lead, no matter what we're talking about. But certainly when it comes to the thing that is probably most essential, and that is food and fiber, energy materials, building resources, all the things that come off that rural agriculture acreage. We have a duty and responsibility to make sure that those things are secure. So, Secretary, thank you for your leadership and vision on this. Much appreciated.
Timing is coming very soon. We'll continue to announce further steps to answer your final question. Listen, everyone, thank you so much for being here. It's really, really an honor to have you all here at the People's Department. Abraham Lincoln founded this department in 1862 to ensure that the American farmers and ranchers and rural prosperity, rural way of life was represented here in Washington. So thank you, and everyone can gather over on the right for Coach Tuberville's next workout. All right, thank you guys so much. Thank you.
us, and we'll show you what the law really is. Well,
and we were
you
just
can bet
listening
Trump
in there
felt like he
to
was hit by a legal
several
bus.
Trump administration officials.
He thought being president was a
speaking
shield
about
that made
this
him
national farm
untouchable,
security plan.
but
Just some of
turns
the
out
key highlights
it
there
wasn't
if
the
you are just
invincible
tuning in.
one he
This is
imagined.
going to promote agriculture and
The justices didn't need to say much. They just said, "No, Mr. President doesn't have the right to do anything without consequences." Trump thought he could do anything, but now he's left muttering, "I'm the president. I can do whatever I want." It's hard to explain to someone who thinks their power is limitless. So what does he do now that his presidential shield is shattered?
Or acts of the president. And that innovation doesn't work if it's not, the judiciary is not independent.
Independence is under attack and trying to be compromised by the executive branch, which is a road to tyranny.
Trump must have thought he nailed the perfect move picking 3 Supreme Court justices. He probably figured, if I invest enough money into something, it has to work in my favor, right? Well, guess what? This isn't a game he won. Instead, the justices he handpicked turned their backs on him. It's a shock to Trump, sure, but not so surprising when you look at how they voted against him. What he thought was a perfect plan turned out to be a political game that was way out of his league. It's like he thought he could buy loyalty, but it turns out loyalty doesn't come with a price tag. And now reality is biting him. No matter how presidential he is, at the end of the day, he's just a guy. And now that's a hard pill to swallow.
The dominoes here that are falling against Donald Trump with the Supreme Court. And I want to put it in that historical context.
Trump thought he cleared a huge obstacle. But just as he was riding high off his victory in Colorado, the Supreme Court threw a heavy punch. Your order's invalid and everything goes on. Remember this. He was the first president in history to be convicted over the hush money scandal in New York. So, while he's patting himself on the back for what he thought was a win, those legal rulings were actually deeper blows to the clean record he's always bragged about. He probably thought he was leaving the court with a victory, but in reality, he's just tiptoeing around a minefield. But don't think he's done yet. A win never feels like an end, especially when Trump thinks he's on top of the world.
This case is tied to former President Donald Trump's election interference case, one of the biggest rulings this year.
Trump thought he won the Colorado lawsuit, but don't start clapping just yet. While he's jumping for joy thinking he's dodged a bullet, the truth is this is a long, drawn-out nightmare. The Supreme Court didn't actually address what he wanted. They just handed the problem off to Congress. This kind of win is the type even a child can spot as just a way to avoid the real issue and keep the legal battle alive. Trump might think he won, but really, he's just playing a game of switcheroo with an unanswered question. Did he really participate in the riot? This victory of his is like a kid proudly taking out the trash but forgetting to clean up the mess.
Participate.
So with all these rulings piling up, will Trump still have the energy to fight this battle with himself?
Story. The Supreme Court just ruled the president has absolute immunity for core constitutional powers, however, not for unofficial acts.
Trump, didn't you just say you could do whatever you want? Well, the Supreme Court just showed you that your power isn't a free pass. No, you can't just do whatever you want, whether it's holding rallies claiming stop the fraud, or calling up election officials to threaten them. Right, everything has limits, even for a president. And this is the reality you didn't want to face. The immunity you used to boast about now looks like a big joke in the eyes of your justices. The court doesn't just protect the Constitution, it also told you that no one, not even a president, can live outside the law. By now, this truth might make you eat more fast food than you ever intended, but hey, it's better than spilling ketchup on your golden walls. And now that you've realized you can't just sit still, you must be wondering what's next.
We've heard a lot about the fact that Democrats have been talking about Elon Musk. And let me give you a news alert. We're not going to stop talking about him. We're going to keep talking about him until he is out of here. Now, if he wants to be elected or appointed and confirmed to something, then so be it. But as of right now, we have somebody that for whatever reason, I don't know if y'all just trying to play in our face because you think we're stupid, or if you literally just cannot see the difference in a George Soros and a Bill Gates. But let me give you a little bit of...
Jasmine Crockett, with her bluntness and unapologetic style, turned Elon Musk and Donald Trump into a public laughingstock. She didn't just criticize, she ripped apart their public images, exposing the truth in a hilarious and sharp way. Using simple yet cutting words, she left these big names with no response. While Musk continues to showcase his bizarre inventions and Trump touts himself as a business genius, Crockett points out that in reality, they are simply people who have no understanding of government work or democracy. This demonstrates a powerful satire aimed at making the public more aware of the irresponsibility of these figures, especially in a political landscape already riddled with issues.
Question is, Elon, what have you done besides tear us apart, besides be in over your head, besides make sure that you continue to enrich yourself so that not only you can continue to be the richest person in the world, but you can make sure that other people that are already struggling, unfortunately, end up falling on even harder times?
Musk, who constantly claims to be the world's savior with his great technological initiatives, is actually pushing the world into some serious jokes. Crockett points out that there's nothing but Elon continuing to make money from his schemes, not only making money meaningless, but also driving social divide. Crockett didn't hold back in criticizing Musk's creation of Dogecoin, a cryptocurrency he pumped up into a financial wonder. But in reality, it's just a big joke, a billionaire who made it from social media gifts. But when Dogecoin collapsed, no one cared anymore. Musk continues to buy luxury item, while those who invested in Dogecoin are still waiting for the big leap he promised. This shows in a hilarious way that Musk is really just a good salesman, not a world changer.
That Democrats just come to work and don't plan to do work. Right now, they have relinquished their constitutional duties over to an unelected bureaucrat, someone who no one went out to vote for. And absolutely, he is occupying the Oval Office, as we saw yesterday. And that is a first for me to see someone occupying the Oval Office who's never actually been elected to the Oval Office and actually answering more questions than the person that allegedly got elected.
When it comes to Trump, the story isn't just about his business failures, but also the undeniable irresponsibility. She took Trump from billionaire businessman unto a failure legend. With unforgettable flops like Trump University, Trump Vodka, and Trump Steaks, all of which failed miserably. These wonders of Trump didn't just go bankrupt quickly, they also eroded public trust. But no one can deny that Trump always finds a way to make himself stand out and never stops praising himself. Crockett used these details to sharply and hilariously criticize Trump, exposing his image in the light of truth.
Then another layer of fear, especially since normally when you are going to be in a position like that, you have to go through security clearances. And let me tell you, some people think security clearances are all about whether or not you have a warrant or not. No, they look at whether or not you have some sort of divided interest. They look at whether or not you have good credit. They look at so many other things. And we're talking about someone who's unelected, unvetted, and definitely unconfirmed that is now literally sitting atop our $6 trillion, and we don't know what it is that he's doing, and we honestly don't know what role he has.
Both Elon Musk and Trump are unvoted, unmonitored individuals, yet they have the power to make critical decisions for the nation. Crockett didn't hesitate to point out that while Musk has almost unlimited power over his company, Trump continues to cling to power without any accountability or proper oversight. To imagine these two standing on the same political stage seems almost unbelievable, but Crockett, with her sharp humor, exposed their lack of responsibility in a clear and hilarious way. This uncontrolled power is what makes them both a threat to democracy. A major oral argument was held today before the United States Supreme Court, where the Trump regime was challenging the right of federal courts to issue nationwide injunctions, and specifically in the context of nationwide injunctions blocking the regime via executive order to eliminate the constitutional right to birthright citizenship. The Supreme Court session focused on the Trump administration's challenge to the authority of lower courts to issue nationwide injunctions. Trump argued that the president could use an executive order to amend the Constitution, and lower courts should not issue nationwide injunctions blocking such policies. This lawsuit involves multiple states and is a consolidation of several cases. The central issue is the power to issue nationwide injunctions to block the elimination of birthright citizenship rights under the constitutional principle of maternity.
The government is losing constantly. There's nobody else who's going to appeal. They're winning. It's up to you to decide whether to take this case to us. So you just keep on losing in the lower courts. And what's supposed to happen to prevent that?
Again, I respectfully disagree with that forecast of the merits, but in response to the question, what I would say is we have an adversarial system, and if the government is not, for example, not respecting circuit precedent on the court's hypothetical in the Second Circuit, someone injured in the Second Circuit could take the case up. And they could say, look, the government is violating circuit precedent on the hypothetical multiple circuits.
That's the case we're going to take? Somebody who says...
Justice Kagan didn't hesitate to jab at the Trump administration for repeatedly losing in lower courts. It's a string of consistent failures that no one can ignore. So why not bring this case directly to the Supreme Court to clarify matters and end the prolonged legal passing the buck? Lower court rulings have shown a unified opposition. So if Trump truly believed in his case, he should have boldly taken it to the Supreme Court. The failure to do so indicates either hesitation or an acknowledgement of the difficulties he's facing. This is not just ordinary commentary. It's a warning sign for a legal strategy that's gradually collapsing.
Our general practice is to respect those precedents, but there are circumstances when it is not a categorical practice, and that is not
this administration's practice or the longstanding practice of the federal government. And I'm not talking about in the Fourth Circuit, are you going to respect a Second Circuit? I'm talking about within the Second Circuit. And can you say, is that this administration's practice or a longstanding one?
As I understand it, longstanding policy of the Department of Justice. Yes, that we generally, as it was phrased to me, generally respect circuit precedent, but not necessarily in every case. And some examples might be a situation where we're litigating to try and get that circuit precedent overruled.
Justice Barrett questioned whether the Trump administration truly complies with circuit court precedents. The government's attorney admitted that in most cases they do follow precedents, but not absolutely. They reserve the right to challenge precedents to serve their legal objectives. This stance raised concerns among the justices about the consistency in adhering to federal law and the judiciary's role in checking executive power.
On the day after it goes into effect, this is just a very practical question how this is going to work. What do hospitals do with a newborn? What do states do with a newborn?
I don't think they do anything different in that kind
For all the newborns? Is that how it's going to work?
Again, we don't know.
Trump's attorney had to admit that the administration lacks a clear plan for enforcing the executive order related to birthright citizenship. They do not know how hospitals or state authorities will handle newborns under the new policy. This lack of preparation highlights the practical difficulties and complexity involved in implementing a policy with far-reaching impacts on citizenship rights. Supreme Court torches Trump administration during birthright citizenship argument. In a pivotal moment of Trump's second term, the United States Supreme Court has turned skeptical and at times blistering toward the regime's stance on nationwide injunctions. The central question isn't about the constitutionality of modifying the 14th Amendment, which is a long shot for Trump. The real issue is just as critical. Can federal judges block executive actions on a national scale? As of now, it appears likely there were at least 5 votes against the Trump position. Gorsuch, Jackson, Barrett, Sotomayor, and Kagan. Justice Moore may join. Chief Justice Roberts remains a wild card, but his pointed questioning suggests he is weighing a compromise approach rather than full endorsement of the regime's request. The justices are concerned that if lower courts are barred from issuing nationwide injunctions, the administration could implement controversial policies broadly without timely checks. This would weaken the judiciary's role in checking executive power and create significant legal risks for democracy.
Dangerous just to bring them back to their countries. Their countries weren't accepting them back until I came. You know, with Barack Hussein Obama, I call him the Great Divider. He's a great divider. Oh, what do you mean? She said bad about me. I can't hit back. Sir, you're winning. Just relax. Is that good or bad advice?
Trump keeps bragging about his achievements, acting as though he's the only one capable of pulling off miracles. Well, let's be real. He's not just the one who broke politics. He's also the savior of countries that once turned their backs on him. Maybe he's the only one who could pull it off, right? But instead of actually doing something great, we see him acting like a self-proclaimed Hollywood star, calling himself a hero, while no one wants to watch that movie. Imagine this, if Trump were a superhero, his movie would have just one scene, him bragging about himself. And if anyone bothered to watch it, they'd probably leave before the first scene even ended. But while Trump's busy admiring his own victories, someone else shows up to make him face reality.
Are indifferent to his erratic behavior, his obvious mental decline, his history as a convicted felon. Please do not hand our fates over to the likes of Trump, who knows nothing about us, who has shown deep contempt for us, a predator found liable for sexual abuse. All of this while we pick apart Kamala's answers from interviews that he doesn't even have the courage to do, y'all.
Michelle Obama starts off soft and graceful, not even mentioning Trump by name, but every word she says sends him into a full-blown meltdown. With her calm demeanor, she talks about integrity and leadership unity, things Trump sorely lacks. Instead of recognizing this, Trump throws a tantrum like a toddler who's lost his favorite toy. For the first time in his life, he couldn't keep playing the political star, and like a kid playing with his phone at 3 a.m., he starts throwing a fit on Twitter. I've got to admit, if Trump were the judge of a work attitude contest, Michelle would probably be booted for not shining enough. But here's the catch. Trump can't shine any brighter than he already does. Now let's see how Trump handles Michelle's unshakable resolve when he feels like everything's falling apart because of one simple sentence from her.
A speech last night where she said that you're in over your head and the wrong president for the
She was over her head, and frankly, she should have made the speech live, which she didn't do. She taped it, and it was not only taped, it was taped a long time ago because she had the wrong deaths. And frankly, I wouldn't even be here if it weren't for Barack Obama. See, we're standing in the White House. I wouldn't be in the White House except for Barack Obama because they did a bad job. Biden, she didn't even mention the vice presidential candidate.
Trump starts attacking Michelle for choosing to pre-record her speech instead of going live. What he doesn't get is that a speech doesn't have to be live to pack a punch. Yet Trump's the first one to demand everything be perfect in the moment. Maybe if Trump were the judge of a leadership skills competition, he'd disqualify anyone who didn't give a live speech, as though that's the only way to prove power. But let's be real. If Trump were coaching a football team, he'd only pick players who love posing for pictures but never actually play in the game. So what does Trump do when he realizes his power is being challenged?
You know what the response is there? It's like, nah. What do the ladies from North Carolina think about hit back or just relax? Huh? I've always treated her very nicely. But he's the great divider. Barack Hussein Obama, he's a great divider. But he never did, he came out same way for Hillary. How did that work out? Oh.
And here comes Trump with his classic move, blame someone else. Michelle didn't mention him at all, but her silence drove him to talk about her. Michelle did nothing but stay calm and keep shining. But that's exactly what drives Trump mad. Michelle didn't do anything wrong other than just being herself. A strong, respected woman, something Trump can't seem to have, no matter how many buildings are named after him. Or, if Trump were a chef, he'd probably cook up a dish that no one would even want to taste because nobody could eat it. Trump's flavor seems like it's only good for people who already agree with him. But thankfully, that number's small.
Or acts of the president. And that innovation doesn't work if it's not, the judiciary is not independent.
Story. The Supreme Court just ruled a president has absolute immunity for core constitutional powers, however, not for unofficial acts.
And not everything the president does is official, end quote. So a big question here is, when was President Trump acting in his official capacity?
Well, looks like Trump can't keep hiding behind his presidential armor anymore.
Yeah.
The judges gave him a simple lesson: challenge us, and we'll show you what the law really is. Well, you can bet Trump felt like he was hit by a legal bus. He thought being president was a shield that made him untouchable, but turns out it wasn't the invincible one he imagined. The justices didn't need to say much. They just said, no, Mr. President doesn't have the right to do anything without consequences. Trump thought he could do anything, but now he's left muttering, I'm the president. I can do whatever I want. It's hard to explain to someone who thinks their power is limitless. So what does he do now that his presidential shield is shattered?
Or acts of the president. And that innovation doesn't work if it's not, the judiciary is not independent.
Independence is under attack and trying to be compromised by the executive branch, which is a road to tyranny.
With my Congressional Progressive Caucus colleagues to express my utter
impeachment
horror at the way in which the Trump administration is catapulting us towards an authoritarian state. We in Congress are one of the three branches of government, yet the president has been acting like a king since day one. Since assuming office, Donald Trump has dismantled federal agencies and unlawfully halted billions of dollars in congressionally appropriated federal funding. He has undermined the delicate system of checks and balances by flagrantly ignoring court orders. He's arrested a judge, a mayor. He has threatened to arrest a sitting governor. He has taken to the floor and handcuffed and detained a United States senator. And he has accused and caused to be indicted a United States Congresswoman for having the temerity to do her job by being at an ICE facility to conduct oversight. He has also violated the right to due process by dispatching armed, masked, unidentifiable people wearing plain clothes and tactical gear onto the streets of select American cities where they pull up on people, jump out with assault weapons, force them into unmarked cars, and disappear them. Their families learn days later that their loved one has been shipped off to a foreign gulag without presenting evidence to a judge that they should be removed. Trump has done this to legal permanent residents and talked openly about doing it to American citizens. While unleashing terror on our streets, Trump's brazenly corrupt decision to accept a $400 million Boeing 747 jet from Qatar for his personal use, it's a direct violation of the Emoluments Clause of our Constitution, and it has caused a firestorm of controversy. But yet, Republicans, MAGA Republicans in control of Congress, turn a blind eye to it. They are afraid to hold Donald Trump accountable. They are afraid to investigate the serious national security, public integrity, and foreign policy implications of the president accepting an emolument from a foreign government and flying around in a Qatari jumbo jet and taking it with him as a door prize when he leaves office in January 2029, if he leaves office. This is blatant, in-your-face corruption to see how far he can go in his attempt to replace democracy with dictatorship. Congress has the authority to introduce articles of impeachment against the president, but I don't expect that it's going to happen because they're too afraid to do so. It's the ultimate exercise of congressional oversight, and it requires a simple majority vote in the House of Representatives and a 2/3 majority vote in the Senate in order to impeach and convict. I'm prepared to take any necessary action to stop Trump's reckless assault on the federal government and upon our democracy. While I believe many of Donald Trump's actions merit impeachment, I believe that the critical first step needs to be taken by this body as soon as possible. But as I said before, I don't expect it to happen because Republicans, MAGA Republicans, have completely abdicated their constitutional responsibility to exercise any shred of oversight on this out-of-control executive. In fact, this Congress has acted as a rubber stamp as Trump consolidates power in and unto himself. Time and time again, they continue to capitulate on their core principles in complete sycophancy of Trump's disastrous anti-democratic agenda. Despite being in the minority, House Democrats are working tirelessly to push back against Trump's hostile government takeover by litigating his illegal actions, introducing legislation to curb his powers, and mobilizing the public against his destructive agenda. I've joined thousands of Georgians and millions of Americans against the Trump administration's attack on Social Security, on Medicare, on Medicaid, and other public services, including SNAP benefits for children, infants, and seniors. Though it's unlikely that a Republican-led House will do anything to hold this executive accountable, we're going to continue to do everything we can to demonstrate to the American people that we're not going to take this laying down. We're going to be with them. We're going to be out on the streets in peaceful protests.
Let's go.
And we're going to make sure that we preserve and protect this democracy that our forefathers and foremothers have fought so hard to guarantee to us. I'll not stop doing the job that my constituents sent me to Washington to do because a megalomaniac is trying to override the Constitution, and I hope that my colleagues on both sides of the aisle will do the same. And we're today with my Congressional Progressive Caucus colleagues to express my utter horror at the way in which the Trump administration is catapulting us towards an authoritarian state. We in Congress are one of the three branches of government, yet the president has been acting like a king since day one. Since assuming office, Donald Trump has dismantled federal agencies and unlawfully halted billions of dollars in congressionally appropriated federal funding. He has undermined the delicate system of checks and balances by flagrantly ignoring court orders. He's arrested a judge, a mayor. He has threatened to arrest a sitting governor. He has taken to the floor and handcuffed and detained a United States senator. And he has accused and caused to be indicted a United States congresswoman for having the temerity to do her job by being at an ICE facility to conduct oversight. He has also violated the right to due process by dispatching armed, masked, unidentifiable people wearing plain clothes and tactical gear onto the streets of select American cities where they pull up on people, jump out with assault weapons, force them into unmarked cars, and disappear them. Their families learn days later that their loved one has been shipped off to a foreign gulag without presenting evidence to a judge that they should be removed. Trump has done this to legal permanent residents and talked openly about doing it to American citizens. While unleashing terror on our streets, Trump's brazenly corrupt decision to accept a $400 million Boeing 747 jet from Qatar for his personal use, it's a direct violation of the emoluments clause of our Constitution, and it has caused a firestorm of controversy. But yet,
I think they found some bodies. In Texas with the flood.
Good morning, and thank you so much for waking up with us here on Live Now from Fox. It's Monday, July 7th. I'm Jeannie.
So really appreciate it. We all do, and maybe you could say a few words.
Well, thank you, Mr. President. I want to thank you for your leadership. Texas is strong, and the people of Texas are incredibly strong. They've gone through something that is absolutely horrific. And it is heartbreaking to watch these families suffer the way that they are. As soon as this flash flooding event happened, the governor has activated his emergency responders. Nim Kidd is his emergency management director, who is incredible, and has immediately worked with the local first responders to get help to individuals and get them evacuated, put requests into me. We deployed SIR right away, as you know, because you and I were talking a lot during this time, the Coast Guard. We also had some assets out of Customs and Border Protection. Our board TAC teams went in and helped with rescues and clearing debris so that we could get roads open and people get the help that they need. I think when I got there the most, sir, that day.
He not paying no attention, y'all. So that means he finna say something crazy. Hold on. Where is this? 13 minutes.
Okay, thank y'all for being here again today. Larry Letha, Kirk County Sheriff. I'm going to kind of go over some brief notes with y'all real quick, then I'm going to pass it on to the mayor. Hundreds of first responders remain along the Guadalupe River in Kirk County working to reunite families. The large search and rescue effort, including local, state, federal, and volunteer agencies, continue. As of 8 a.m. Central Time, 87 deceased have been recovered in Kirk County, including 56 adults and 30 children. Identification is pending for 19 adults and 7 children, with 1 additional person still unidentified. At present, 5 missing campers and 1 counselor still remain unaccounted for. We ask private boats to stay off the Guadalupe River to allow search and rescue teams to operate without any interference. This is a tragic time for us. We're so grateful and thankful for all the resources that have been provided to us to do this job. And I can assure you we will not stop until this mission is complete. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to City Mayor.
Thank you for being here. I'm Joe Herring Jr. I'm Mayor of the City of Kerrville. I want to reassure our community and those families that the city, the county, the state, and the federal experts are working together, not separately, but as one team. If you go inside the Emergency Operations Center, you don't see silos. You see one team. I want to talk briefly about in-kind donations. The outpouring.
All right, as you see there, listening into this press conference that's currently underway there in Kerrville, Texas, we do have yet another shot. I want to bring that one to you here on Live Now.
On the city's Facebook page, we are grateful. We need a new system to handle the generosity of the world. Financial donations can still go to communityfoundation.net. That's the community foundation of the Texas Hill Country. Again, we are grateful for the generosity of the world. Over and over, I've asked you to pray. It occurred to me that I haven't asked you for what to pray specifically. Please pray for those who mourn, for those who wait, and for those who help. Now I'd like to call on Lieutenant Colonel Ben Baker.
Morning, everyone. Thank you for being here. My name is Ben Baker, Lieutenant Colonel for Texas Game Wardens. I'd like to start out by thanking the mayor, sheriff, chief, our local state partners, Texas Department of Public Safety, and the many others that have responded to this tragic event. We as Texas are strong, and together we face adversity. Your Texas Game Wardens responded in the early mornings of Friday to this tragic event, along with many other local and state partners. Since the early mornings of Friday, your Texas Gamers have had over 300 game wardens in the area, serving the people of the state of Texas and the citizens of Kirk County. Among that, we've searched 26 river miles since the tragic event has started. We've had approximately 444 rescues, 30 recoveries. Some of our resources and assets we have dedicated to this tragic event include 2 helicopters with hoist teams, 12 drone teams, 10 K9 units, 9 swiftwater boat crews, 15 airboats, 16 UTVs, and 169 four-wheel drive vehicles. Your Texas Game Wardens will remain here and serving the community. We just ask you to continue to pray for the victims, for the families, for your first responders, for everyone involved. We'll open it up now to questions. If anybody has any.
Talk about how challenging it is for you guys in the mud, these trees. It's been like in the terrain.
No, thank you for that question. Extremely challenging. You know, we've got, of course, your Texas Game Wardens out there, your local, your state partners, Texas Task Force 1. We've got the National Forest Service out there. We've got A&M Forest Service. We've got numerous responders with specialized capabilities where we've got these large pile of debris. And with our canines and you know, when we're trying to make these recoveries, these large piles can be very obstructive. And to get deep into these piles is very hazardous. And those specialized teams have to go in there layer by layer because our first responders, also the safety of them is concerned. So it's extremely treacherous, time consuming, it's dirty work, it's the water's still there. So we're having to go layer by layer, peeling these off to make those recoveries. So we're...
What about mentally? Like, you guys stumble across someone who made you deceased. How do you process that?
Absolutely. We process it the best we can. We have professionals in place, our crisis intervention team. All the agencies have some members representing there. And officer wellness is a first responder wellness is a key component to these operations. So we're maintaining and monitoring our officer wellness, our first responder wellness. We're making sure they have the support. It's very tragic whenever you see human life. But to see child and that loss of life is extremely tragic.
I have a question. Come down west of us, and eventually it's going to get down to Guadalupe River. Is that going to put a halt to the searches? And if not, how are you going to change the trajectory of the search and rescue operations?
So with the water coming down, there's always a concern. And I'm sure you've been monitoring the last couple of days where we've had some reports of maybe some additional water coming in. Obviously, that's going to impact the search and recovery efforts. You know, us with numerous other agencies do have air capabilities, drone capabilities. We've got numerous fixed wing, rotary helicopters here. So it will alter our patrol patterns and alter our searches, but it won't deter them.
I have a question for the specific discussions and actions were taken
between the time the first flood emergency alert came in at 1:14 a.m. and then when the river first started flooding, hours later. What were the specific actions and discussions that happened in those hours?
Can you repeat that again, please?
Sure, absolutely. I would like to know, if you could outline, please, what the specific actions and discussions were that local officials took between 1:14 a.m., that's when the first flood emergency alert came out, and hours later when the river first started flooding. What happened in those hours?
What I can tell you, when I was first notified, it was around the 4 to 5 area. One of my sergeants was in dispatch when the first calls started coming in, the actual 911 calls come in. It was between 4 or 5 when I got notified. Okay. But prior to that, in that 3 to 4 area, my understanding is, and we're in the process of trying to put a timeline. That's going to take a little bit of time. As I've told you several times, that is not my priority this time. There's 3 priorities. That's locating the people out there, identify and notify the next of kin. That is what I'm taking as my job as sheriff here to do. Okay.
With all due respect, sir, I think that the community here is asking these questions. What happened? When did it happen? Was the emergency manager awake at the time? Did they push the button to issue an emergency alert?
Sir, it's not that easy when you just push a button, okay? There's a lot more to that. And we've told you several times.
Did it happen, sir?
I can't tell you at this time. Okay.
Can you tell me if the emergency manager of the county actually issued an emergency alert?
Okay, Sheriff,
Just give me a second.
Emergency Operations Center. Who
Let me
runs
answer the question.
the emergency?
I'll come back to you. I know where.
Appreciate it.
Who runs the Emergency Operations Center?
We have a communication center, a dispatch, okay? We have a communication center. That's where the calls actually go to the police department, then they're forwarded to us.
But leading up to this, in monitoring the weather, there's, in any large city, in any state, there's an office of emergency management that is monitoring the weather, that is watching and listening and getting briefings. Who was getting those briefings in this city, in this county? Who was receiving that information? And who would have ultimately made the decision to evacuate, hearing what was coming in from the Weather Service and other?
Okay, well, we would have done when we get notified. Okay, I'm going to tell you.
You're not emergency management, right? The sheriff's not EOC.
No, there is no, I meant as the city. Yeah, after that.
So we understand you have many questions. Hang on.
No, I understand, but you're not gonna answer the question because that's up to the city manager and the mayor to answer.
Correct. We understand you have many questions.
The judge is not here.
We understand that, but right now, this team up here is focused on bringing people home. That's our focus. All those questions will be answered, but the priority right now
It seems like you're
is bringing people home.
We totally understand that, and we value the incredible work that is being done by those first responders. We're seeing them out there muddy and sweaty and grinding it out day after day. But your community is asking these questions.
And we will get answers. Right now, all of our resources are focused to recovery.
Who was in charge of the Emergency Operations Center at the time that was getting any brief?
Do we have another question?
I think I'd like to focus on what local people can be looking for. We're looking at some erosion in roads and safety and then travel. What can we tell people who live here right now and what they can do in their daily life? Should they worry about traveling on roads? Do we know anything about that in construction?
Sure, absolutely. Jonathan Lamb, Kerrville Police Department. So we know that there's substantial road damage. Some roads have been closed for safety. We've got crews out there in the county shoring them up and making sure that people can travel to and from. What we're asking for the public to do to assist us is if they believe that they have seen someone, a victim, notify emergency services. Call 911, let us know, or use our non-emergency numbers, area code 830-257-8181. Contact our dispatch team and we will send officers out there. We also ask folks to limit their travel. Our first responders have had a very difficult time getting to where they need to go because of the amount of people who are flooding our roadways. We understand there's natural curiosity. People want to come here and see the flood damage. Now is not the time for sightseeing. This operation is ongoing and continuous, and it will continue. I've got time for one more question. Last question. As far as I know, the last live rescue, unless there's new information, and I don't believe there is, was made on Friday. All right, I'm afraid that's going to have to do it for this morning.
Can someone answer if the bodies have been released to the families? Sure.
Excuse me.
Have the bodies been released to the families?
Some. I mean, they're an autopsy.
They're still missing. Do you have an estimate among the general population, not just the girls from Mystic, even just credible reports? Is it hundreds still? Is there any estimate among the general population of how many people?
No, I've told y'all several times, it's hard to know that number. No, we don't. I know the numbers that we have found, and that's all I know.
You still don't want to tell us who it is.
All right, so we're going to continue our operations. The next time that we're going to be in front of y'all will be at 5 p.m. right back here.
Can you double tap your screen, please? Double tap the screen or hit the like button. If I don't get the likes up within the next 10 minutes, I'm going to go ahead and shut it down.
Recruiting bump. It's not just the Army and the Marine Corps anymore. It's the Navy, the Air Force, and the Space Force, all historically ahead of where they've ever been. So historic spirit inside the military. We had a chance to be at NATO, Marco and I, and see how the world responds to us saying it's time for you to shoulder the burden and take the lead for your continent. It only happens with President Trump leading, and we're proud to be a part of what's going on at the border, sir, with now a 4th national defense area where we're helping get to that number 0 and secure the border. But that mission, Operation Midnight Hammer, re-established deterrence. It reversed what happened in Afghanistan. We saw the debacle of what Biden allowed to happen in Afghanistan, and what that did to our image. President Trump said, with Operation Midnight Hammer, we're reestablishing American leadership and deterrence, and we're proud to be a part of it.
And our so-called enemies were watching. They watched every minute of it. They watched. There was very few people that weren't watching, actually, but they watched every minute. It was a perfect military performance, the likes of which we haven't seen in a long time. I mean, if you compare that to the same country, the hostages from years ago, Jimmy Carter, was unfortunate for Jimmy Carter. He was a nice man, but with the helicopters going down, the sandstorms, the prisoners captured, and the election, and prisoners, and Reagan, and all the problems. It was nothing but problems, and that was a failure. And ours was not only the pilots. I mean, those machines flew for 37 straight hours. They didn't stop. They went skedaddle. You know the word skedaddle? It means skedaddle. They dropped the bombs, and somebody said skedaddle. Let's get the hell out of here. And every bomb hit its mark, and hit it incredibly. And as you know, the Atomic Energy Commission said it's gone. That place is gone. We had a lot of fake reporting, mostly from CNN, where a scammer a writer for CNN, who should be fired, by the way, she was involved with the 51 fake intelligence agents, if you remember that. She did that story, created a story out of it. She created a story out of the laptop from hell, saying it came from Russia, but it actually came from Hunter Biden's bedroom or worse. And just a scammer. She's still at CNN, which is pretty amazing. But we'll ask you a question about that. But they came up with this concept that maybe the attack wasn't that good. Maybe, and I saw it happen right after the attack. I saw it, and I actually watched it. And I watched you say, Anderson, you know,
Lord, we need you.
maybe they didn't maybe it wasn't that good.
Yes.
I need thee. You know, I don't know. I need the evidence is in the planes. The evidence, the pilots have the best evidence. They actually came out of that plane to say, we had the other day. I need thee. It's so sad. We did such a good job.
We need a healing.
I need thee.
Yes, Lord.
More missiles pointing at them, but the equipment is so good, it's stealth, way up in the air, and it was stealth, and they went right through that. And they said by the time they found out they were but they were right in the most dangerous airspace in the world. It's beautiful, very fast.
We need you, Lord.
better than just cool, don't they, huh? But they dropped the roads and literally hit. If you look at this table,
Thank you, Brother Hakeem Williams.
a half a refrigerator deal is what they could average size cut it in half.
Every day and every hour.
30 missiles, tomahawk shots from submarines 300 miles away. Every one of them hit that target. It was a perfect mission, and they came back almost 37 hours. Every plane worked perfect. I said, you gotta get the mechanics here. We didn't have any problems. We had a lot of problems with the but they did fly through a dust storm, which they shouldn't have done. Sometimes you say, let's go back and try it on a nicer day. Dust and sand don't work well with helicopters. You know much about helicopters. But that was a horrible embarrassment in Afghanistan, which I think was the most embarrassing moment in the history of our country. We would have gotten out. I was the one that got him down. I would have kept Maga, the big air base, which right now is controlled by China. One among the most powerful runways in the world. Thick with concrete and steel. Anything could land in. Right now, we're 1 hour away from where China makes its nuclear weapons. Outside of that, we were leaving, and I would have been out faster than that, but we would have gotten out with strength and dignity. Instead, that was the most botched up mess I've ever seen. They left all that equipment behind, and every year they have a parade running down some third-rate street. But with all that equipment that they should have taken every ounce of it. I said every screw, every bolt, every nail you take out of there.